Ladies and gentlemen, oh my god, round one of the January Grandmaster Round Robin is complete. I've made it home, and my amazing wifey had some leftover curry, so I had some of that, and I'm drinking sparkling apple juice, Martinelli's. It's the best. Second to G Fuel, sponsored by the way. Yeah, what a game. It's currently 12:15 at night. I got some energy back. I'm going to record game one for all of you. And as always, we have a discount code. All my courses are 33% off if you use code New York. Cool? Wonderful. Here we go. We're going to do this throughout the duration of the tournament. So, my opponent for this round, Balaji Daggubati. I already kind of prepped you for this in the announcement of this tournament video. If you didn't watch that, then you're not a real fan. I don't know what to tell you. Balaji played e4 as promised, but your humble YouTuber did not play the Caro-Kann. It actually turns out I know other openings. I went for the French. So the French is the Walmart version, or the, I don't know, the department store version of the Caro-Kann. But I went for the French because I knew he was going to play the classical. I looked at his games online and over the board. He only ever played knight c3. If I knew he was a knight d2 player, I wouldn't have gone for this because knight d2 is just an entirely different ball game. I mean, I would have had to play something entirely different. But because I knew he was going to play the classical, I could have went for the classical itself or the Wiener. And actually, until yesterday, I was actually thinking to play bishop b4, which I've never played in my life. It would have been a complete surprise to him. And I still have it in my back pocket, but I decided to do this. Why? Because here he doesn't play e5, which is the main line, the Steinitz. He plays bishop g5. And again, I only went for this because I studied his games online and over the board. And I knew that we were going to get the following position. Bishop e7, blocking his pin, bishop takes, and now not bishop takes, but pawn takes. And I really like this structure. I had a very nice game against Andrei Stukopin. That's his name, right? Stukopin? Andrei? Yeah, I think it's Andrei Stukopin. You can look it up, 2016, round 7 or 8. Dallas, November 2016. Awesome game. I was winning, but I ended up drawing that game. And I really like this because I looked at Balaji's games, and he doesn't... And I've actually played this in a blitz game against him, but that game was meaningless. He doesn't have as much of a grasp on these positions as he does on like some of the other stuff, you know, like e4, e5, some Sicilians. That's all the stuff you prep all the time. But here he doesn't have a lot of experience, and I do. I've played this many times. And before the game, I actually prepared this position. And now, not the main line, which is a6, and then b5 and bishop b7. I actually prepared with Leela. I spent like 30-40 minutes earlier today using the Leela computer, and I played a move here which is extremely flexible and very unique, and it's not played very often. It's not the top choice of the computer until it thinks a little bit. And is this kind of odd move, knight d7. And here's the thing. Balaji likes to play queen e2 and long castle, right? And I was thinking, you know, a6, he might play the other main line, which is g3. And it's very forcing, and, you know, white is doing okay there. So I decided to play knight d7, and I had something prepared in case he went for g3, bishop g2. But I also had something prepared in case he went queen e2 or queen d2. So I prepared this, and this. What I didn't prepare at all, actually, surprisingly, was the move bishop to c4. Which I just didn't think made a whole lot of sense in this kind of position, because if white is ever trying to play the move d5, well, I'm just never going to let him do that, right? And now, furthermore, I'm going to play b5 myself, and what I was anticipating was a4. It's actually why I didn't play a6 myself here. I thought after a4, white is doing very well, and I'm looking now, and Stockfish agrees. So we're already kind of jostling. And here, you know, I can castle... But I really like b5. I mean, he's sort of playing directly into my whole structure, my spiky structure. It's a very odd and unique position. And by the way, he did end up playing queen e2. Did you notice? He played queen e2, but and when he played it over the board, I was like, old habits die hard. And the fascinating thing is he played it fast. He played it fast, and it's not even a good move. It was really confusing me because he was playing very quickly, but I knew he couldn't have prepped it because this is such an obscure position. I mean, it's like barely ever been played. And now I take over the initiative, b5, a5. So I'm threatening to trap the bishop. He already has a very difficult decision. Does he play a3 or a4? If he plays a little bit more passively, I'm still going to go here, and he just can't move his queen side. I mean, I'm just going to go here, lining up my bishop. So he played a4 himself, but I'm still going to go b4, kick his knight out, and I really want to play bishop a6 here, but I don't really want to let his bishop come to c4. I mean, I can, but... So what did I do? I played knight b6. And the idea of knight b6 is that I'm going to go here. And he's not going to be able to block. I was anticipating knight to e3 to try to jump in here and block. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking about here. But he played a move I absolutely did not expect. He played knight e5, which he can't. Because I take on d4. But he played it. I'm like, what? So this is what I was thinking. Okay, this was my thought process. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take. He's going to take, attacking my queen and my bishop. I'm going to drop back to c5, attacking his knight. He's going to take, and I'm going to take with my king. Why my king? Well, my queen is very active on c5, right? So the queen in that variation stays on c5. And then he's going to take. My king's actually very safe. All his pieces are super passive. That's the first thing I saw. It's a sequence that takes 5 seconds to see. So, okay, great. Now let's keep thinking. And then I went, why am I actually going to attack his knight? Why don't I go back to g7 and attack this pawn? And I started trying to work it out. I'm like, you know what? If he takes my bishop, I can actually just take this. That's a very serious threat. I can jump behind his this diagonal, right, and go to g2. And I sat there thinking for a little bit, and you know, I saw queen b5 in different ways to come at my king, and I saw knight e3 defending this, and knight f5. And I kind of got lost in the complications, and I went back to my original idea, and I just went, I mean, I'm completely fine here. And so here's the thing. It actually turns out that queen g7 after knight c6 is completely winning for black. Like, just literally completely winning. So if he castles, I x-ray him, and I just win material. If he plays knight e3, what I calculated here was queen takes b2 and just this. So I just calculated very quickly. I was like, well, I don't really want to take that because he just castles. And I sort of just stopped thinking. But I can go here, which when I show this to you now, you know, some people watch like, and they're just interested, like, oh, wow, that's very interesting that he missed that. Some people watch and they go, oh, I would have seen that. Listen, you should be playing in the tournament in my spot, you know? And here's the difference. Queen d2, my opponent can't castle anymore. So because it's not about winning the pawn yet, you have to remove the right to castle. So knight e3, which I was a little bit afraid of, actually. I thought, oh, there's all this knight f5 crazy stuff I can't take. My king's wide open. And then I, you know, I was like, oh, queen b5, and oh, he's setting up a very scary discovered attack. Just bishop a6. Just bishop a6, and if he takes my knight, I just go here. And he just, yeah, I mean, it's just nuts. Like, you know, it's not, again, it's not about, I should have trusted myself. I didn't realize how winning it was. Sometimes this early in a game, you're just not expecting to be completely winning. You're not looking for a knockout blow on move 15. You're looking for, well, I'm definitely only I'm playing for a win here. So yeah, crazy. And what's crazier is here I can play bishop a6. This is so funny. I can wait to take the knight, and first I can do this so he can't castle. Crazy. Yeah, and he played queen h5. Then I went bishop a6. He gave me a check. I went back to and I wasn't worried about queen g7 at all. I was ready to sacrifice, not let him castle, and then play like, you know, queen e5, rook d8. Like, how's he ever? He can't save his king. His king's just stuck in the middle of the board. So I was quite happy when, you know, he kind of got to this position. I kicked his queen out. This doesn't win my rook because it's protected. And yeah, here after rook d8, I'm like, okay, I'm just much better. Like, his rook on h1 is completely stuck in the corner of the board. I just have to figure out how to win, right? So he plays rook d1. Now here, Stockfish, the scumbag that it is like, yo, just take. Just take. And then he's going to take, and then you're going to go here, attacking b2, and then you're just going to go f4. And what I miss here from a distance, again, all this from a distance, I miss that king c1, when he threatens mate on my back rank, I have a way to protect it. And I have a way to protect it by f4, rook d1, and queen g5. That is the move that I missed from afar. I missed that when I push my f-pawn attacking the knight, the door opens for my queen to block the mate, offer the exchange, and continue the attack. I didn't see a way forward. That's the only way forward, by the way. That is the only way forward. Instead, what I did is I went up with my rook. And I went up because now if he takes, well, he still can't castle, and I'm just crushing here because his rook's never getting in the game, right? But the problem is this move. And now he just attacks my rook again. And if I start taking now, he's going to have time to consolidate. So I brought my king to trade more pieces and make forward progress. He gave me a check and threatened to repeat. And I was like, I can make a draw from a position of strength, but I was sure that I was like better. I was sure of it. So I said, no, knight c8. No, we're not taking the draw. We're going to put some pressure on you. He plays g3, and I'm sitting there like, how do I actually do that? Like, how do I... This is insane. The dude is playing a full game with no rook. I got all my pieces, and yet I have no way forward. I can't push any of my pawns because he just takes on f5. Like, I can't do anything. So I get really frustrated. I'm burning my clock time. Right now I'm down 10 minutes. I have like 12 versus 22 or something like that. And I decide, okay, to hell with this. Trade rooks and queens. His bishop is trash. His knight is trash. We're going to win this endgame. But he plays rook e1, like a very reasonable move. I bring my king. He slides over, opening up rook d1 possibilities. And he's playing very quickly. So the momentum is just shifting, right? I couldn't find a way through. I'm pretty certain I missed a win. I don't know what it is, because I haven't, gone home and checked with Stockfish yet. And now I'm like, okay, well, if I go rook h6, he's going to push. Softening up the structure, I can jump in with knight e4. But if I move my knight, he's going to try to trade bishops with me, right? And he's going to get the d file. So if I bring my knight to e4, he gives me a check, I slide over. He's going to try to activate or trade my bishop and win my pawn. But yeah, the alternative is I go back and I try to come this way, and I'm not so sure I can really create any winning chances once his rook gets active, right? Not to mention, there is something really funny here, which is this move knight g2, which I thought was really strong. And then he can play like this, and it's like, what the hell is going on? I mean, my a-pawn is a huge liability. So I'm finding all these ways that I can just accidentally land myself in a terrible position, which is what you have to do. I mean, you have to think about moves for your opponent as well. So I'm like, okay, rook h6, I'm not going to let him dictate the pace. Knight e4. Knight e4, right? So now he's going to give me a check. I'm going to go here, bishop c4, takes, takes. His rook is going to go here. He's going to take my pawn. Crazy position. He's going to win all my pawns, right? Literally, like, this is what I thought was going to happen. This, where he won my whole queenside, and I have all connect. Like, this is what I thought we were going for, right? So I play knight e4, and he hits me with this move. And I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. It's just the last thing that you're thinking of, because it looks like a move that just can't be played. But now he guards his weakness, threatens my rook. He actually forces me to take and give up my own knight, because if rook h5 or rook here, there's forks, right? He would just take here, and then he would fork me if I move to one of those, if I move to h5. So I'm like, okay, all right, well, I'm gonna lose. Like, and I deserve it. I didn't take the draw. I burned all my time, and yeah, all right, let's see him beat me. Here we go. I take here, and the reason why I'm losing is because I have too many weaknesses, right? The problem was that while I was restricting his pieces, my structure was not the best. I mean, I had awkward doubled f pawns, right? This pawn over here is great for monitoring his light squared bishop, but in all endgames, if I don't protect it, it's just going to be a liability, which is just common, and okay, I have to be active. Rook f6. I have to give him my g pawn, and now he comes to g5. And now I have to play super precisely. So I thought about going for this bishop endgame where I'm just down a pawn. I thought this was holdable, but I also thought this was really depressing. And I wanted to go out on my shield, and I said f5. I am going to win his pawn while he comes back here, right? Trying to win my a pawn or my h pawn. I'm going to win this pawn. I'm going to have two passed pawns. Vamos, vamos, vamos. And I only have like 3 minutes. He has like 9. So the whole momentum has shifted, right? Rook g7. King d6. He can take my pawn, but it's a move. When you play this move, it's a waste. It's a full tempo wasted. So before you go there and let me take you, and I'm going to start pushing my pawns, he decides not to do it. He decides to go this way. In general, like 8 times out of 10, if you can just take a pawn, you probably should, and then you should go for this. You should go for that pawn. But again, it's valuable time. And by the time I get over there and I take, and now, let's not forget, I also have a passed pawn. I also have a passed pawn. In fact, I have 2. So it's kind of scary. It's a little bit scary position, right? So he chose not to do that. He chose to go for my pawn. I went back, he took, and I went rook g2. Now, you have to play rook g2 because you have to keep the king cut off. You have to not let the enemy king get active. Now, what's his game plan, right? What's his game plan? As my time is ticking, I'm actively thinking about his game plan. His game plan, move the rook to b5, take my b pawn, and push his a-pawn, right? So he's going to take, bring the bishop out, push the pawn. Well, another thing he's going to do is maybe go back here and harass my h-pawn. And what's my game plan? Well, I either have to bring my rook back or around this way and stop his pawn, or I have to be fast with my own counterplay. And it's very good my bishop stands down here, defending both my pawns. Actually, very, very nice. So what does he do? He goes rook a8, and I trick him. King c7. He blunders. He blunders with rook a8 because, at least that's what I thought, because if a5, I trap his rook. He missed this. And he also overlooked that after this, it looks like he has a trick. It looks like he can just take. Here's the point. If I go after his rook, kaboom! But, I have this. I have an in-between move. Check. And I'm off the light square, and now his rook is trapped, and this is just a draw. It's a draw because by the time we win each other's pieces, so like h5, bishop g6, take, by the time we win all of each other's pieces, this is an unbreakable fortress for white. Like, I just cannot break his, I can't win that. So I saw this trick that I can play bishop b7, and I got really excited. Like, he went back. But that's a waste of time, right? Look at the position. He just shuffled his rook, so now I can take a pawn. So now I'm not even down any pawns. The game plan for him remains rook b5, rook b4. The game plan for me, monitor his a-pawn, right? Push your own. So what does he do? Plays rook c5 check. I go here, so I don't get hit with a check on the b file. He plays a5. At this point, I'm actively thinking, okay, he has this and this. And if I let him get too far, I don't like that. Now, I have two ways to stop this. Passively on the 7th rank, let him push and go sneak around back. Right? And I can push myself. But if I push myself, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit scary. So what I decide to be passive. But I blunder. I blunder again. I forgot that after rook b5, I don't have rook b7. Because again, I'm in time trouble. I just thought rook b5, rook b7. But this loses this. And this is still pushing. So he's winning. So I'm like, oh my god, I don't have rook b7. And then I thought about this. This was my next idea. But this also loses. Even though I can win this pawn, he has kaboom! And if I take, he has this. And it looks like I can maybe save myself. Bishop a4! Oh my god. If I take, he takes with the rook, he's safe. If I go here, b4. All his pawns come down. So I'm like, oh my god, and then it hits me. I have one and only one move, rook a7. If he takes my pawn, I take his. So he can't do anything. So he brings his king. I bring my bishop. He moves out. I bring my king. He brings it, and at this point, I'm still like, oh my god. I'm like, oh my god. I have 30 seconds. He's gonna push. He's gonna bring his king, and I realize I have a defensive resource. I can bring my pieces like this and bishop c8. And I have this insane wraparound idea. Even in my defenses, I'm attacking. I'm threatening to get to his king and his bishop and his rook. And if he plays rook b5, now I actually have rook b7. I actually have rook b7 because he can't do this. This is not good. He's not going to make any progress like this. And he plays rook c5, and now the most clutch move of this whole game, rook c7. On a surface, looks like it loses. Take, king e5, and he gets in. He's eating my stuff. He's going to go over my pawn over here. Very, very bad position. Maybe even king c5. That might also win. Take my pawn, 3 connected. That's why after rook c7, in between move, Zwischenzug, e5 check. Pushing his king back. Now I take his rook. And this is amazing, by the way. The king is the defender and the attacker. Look at that. So clutch 7th rank hold. We trade. And now this is just a draw. Because my pawns go down and his pawns go down, but it's more like the threat of the pawns is so strong that it doesn't really matter, and no one's gonna make any progress. So I offered him a draw here, and he accepted because nobody can do anything. So you know, he's not gonna take my pawn because I'll queen, and I'm not gonna take his pawn because he'll queen. So we have just this impasse. Nobody can do anything. So we drew a game where I was winning for a move, actually on 2 separate occasions on that move. I didn't find the best way forward, and then he found a beautiful counter shot, and he was pressuring me, and honestly, I don't even know what he could have done better, to be honest. Maybe, oh, take h7, I guess, take h7, I don't know, but that's why this game is called Oh My God. because there were a couple of oh my god moments for sure, and it turns out that Queen G7 was straight up winning. It's just so crazy. Like, it's the first round, you know, you kind of have like a little bit of jitters in the first round, just like remembering how it all feels and how all the pieces move. And also felt horrible all day. I don't know. Might have been anxiety. Might have been atmospheric pressure. Might have been both. I don't know. But I didn't feel in game mode. But once you start rolling and, you know, your prep is on the board and all this, and I was very happy. You know, all my prep paid off. I actually got a great position with strong prep. It's just a shame I didn't find this Queen G7 idea here. But what are you gonna do? Can't win them all. But I would have liked to win this one. So strong start, good hold even with 30 seconds on the clock, and you know, I couldn't have done it without the beginner and intermediate bootcamp as well as all the opening courses. Literally every single one. Use code New York. I'll see you all for round number 2. Get out of here.